Hi, this is Sean D'Souza, and you're listening to the 3-Month Vacation Podcast. This podcast isn't some magic trick about how to work less. Instead, it's about how to really enjoy the work that you do and to enjoy your vacation time. Hi, I'm Sean, and you're listening to the 3-Month Vacation. Do you know which is the longest winning streak by any athlete in top-level professional sport? If you dig into the Guinness Book of World Records, you'll find the name of Jahangir Khan. From 1981 to 1986, Khan won the World Open 6 times in a row, and the British Open a record 10 times. His domination of the game was so complete that he was unbeaten 555 games back-to-back. And the weird part about this story is that Jahangir didn't feel the need to have any fixed training system in place. He didn't have a precise diet either. He said he was happy to eat anything as long as it was hygienic and as long as he drank 2 glasses of milk every day. Now, Khan's approach to being better than anyone is seemingly erratic, it's not systematic, but he was merely dealing with his own personal needs and the way he saw everything fitted in his world. In a course, it's not just one person that needs to be considered. We need to consider many people, which is why setting up things in advance and having a decent amount of precision is crucial to making things easier for your clients as well as for yourself. In this episode, we'll look at why some online courses are better than others. And let's look at 3 things that really matter. The first is about barriers as a filtration system. Then we look at testimonials as a secondary filtration system. And finally, we look at the size of the groups. And these 3 things are relatively crucial to getting an online group working better than ever before. So let's start out with the first one, which is barriers as a filtration system. Many years ago, we hosted a monthly marketing event in Auckland. It was free, and we promised that there would be no upsell. There would be no kind of promotions. We even went so far as to never put in any psychotactics branding anywhere at the venue. And month after month, the room would be filled with about 40 entrepreneurs keen to listen to this presentation. As you'd expect, the participants had some kind of barrier, and that barrier was that they had to show up consistently month after month. Free events tend to be easier to ignore, and it's not uncommon to have people avoid the event just because it's too cold or it's too rainy. So we had a priority list in place, and if the client didn't show up consistently, they would slip from that priority list. And then others would take their place, and then they would have to wait until someone else fell from grace. Now that was just one barrier. The other barrier was the door itself. The event would start at 8 o'clock, actually 8:02 a.m., and precisely at that point, the doors would be locked. So anyone showing up after that point in time would be met with a post-it that said, "Please don't knock, don't try to get in, the doors are locked, see you next time." For a fledgling business, such barriers seem quite risky. Yet, when you have a restriction in place, it's only the most eager and the most diligent clients that show up. This example that we've been through was based on a venue, and it was based offline. And online courses seem somehow to be harder to control. After all, you can't round up people online. They're at their computers, they're at different locations, and they can choose to do whatever they want and probably not what you want them to do. Yet, that's not the reality of the situation. Because if you open your doors to everyone, then you get everyone, and then it's difficult, if not impossible, to keep that whole system in order. You get lazy people, you get non-diligent people, and you're spending your energy on people who are not necessarily following your instructions. And what happens is the clients who are keen and who are diligent in doing their work, they miss out. That's why we have to have barriers. And the barrier needn't be a big one. In our courses, both online and offline, you can't sign up unless you bought the Brain Audit. The course may be $3,000 or $4,000, and the Brain Audit might cost just $10. But if you default, if you don't buy the Brain Audit, then you're not accepted. I've said this before, but we did this even for the Protégé program, where clients paid as much as $10,000, but were chosen only after they had filled in a detailed form, they had gone through a phone interview, and of course they had the Brain Audit. Those are barriers, and in other cases, clients might be sent 3 separate questions, and those that respond within the time frame are accepted. Those that don't will be rejected. What's happening here is you're setting up barriers, and not every barrier works for every business. But what you're doing is you are getting clients to jump over some hoops. And the net result is that you've created selection criteria. It may not be extremely sophisticated. You might not have put them through tons of barriers, but it's still enough to separate the ones that will work versus those that just choose to ignore them. It's not as if we're suggesting that there are good clients versus bad clients. We're not in that position to make any judgment. However, as a coach, as a teacher, your job is to use your energy to the benefit of your clients. And if you're going to have people that are not going to follow your instructions, and this is even before the course has begun, you can see how this unfolds, doesn't it? They are not listening right now. Why are they going to listen during the course? Why are they going to submit their assignments on time? Why are they going to participate? Why are they going to do anything that makes your course successful, both for yourself and for every single person in the course? Now, this slows you down. It frustrates you, but it also frustrates everybody else. A group that doesn't always move at the same pace is just a bit of a mess. Everyone's wandering off in different directions, and you don't want that. Which is why the first thing that you've got to do is you have to have a barrier. It'll depend on your course. It'll depend on whether they have to read a chapter, a book, whether they have to fill in a form, whether they have to be in an interview. That'll depend completely on you and how big the course is and how expensive the course is. But by and large, they have to have that barrier in place. So that's the first step. But there is a second one. And again, this is a filtration system. This goes beyond barriers. It's called testimonials. Testimonials, yes, testimonials. Let's find out how testimonials help the client filtration system. When I was in my teens, I found myself in a strange auditorium. I'd been invited to see a play. I took my seat, and this was before the lights were dimmed. As I sat down, I noticed that I seemed to be the only male in the rows, both in front and to the rear of me, and also to the side. There are all these women sitting there, and later, when the play ended and the lights came on, I realized that I was the only male in the room. There were about 200 girls in that room, and I was pretty much alone. Knowing this fact in advance, would I have gone into the room? I don't know for sure, and this is a similar kind of situation when clients look at your website and at your testimonials. They tend to look for a sense of similarity, which means that if all your testimonials seem to indicate that your clients are from Boston, it's unlikely to encourage someone from San Francisco. This similarity plays out when clients are choosing to be part of your online course as well. So if your testimonials have a consistent message, clients will understand what to expect. Take, for instance, the article writing course. Now, we sell it as the hardest writing course in the world. The testimonials in turn talk about how it was tough. And the clients may talk about how rewarding it was, how it helps them every day. But by and large, one message goes out consistently, and that it's hard. And if you want to be part of the course, you better be prepared, and you better make this sacrifice for 12 whole weeks. Is it any wonder that we rarely have a Slack client on this article writing course? And this is going back 10 years. It's not that people don't drop out. Most of those who feel the pressure, they drop out in the first week itself. But those that get past the first week, which is a relatively easy week, they go on to finish the course. And let's not lose the point here. This isn't about the article writing course. It's about the messages that you're sending out with your testimonials. The words really matter. And to add to those words, we have to have pictures as well. Humans have an uncanny ability to see the photo of a person and like or dislike that person on the spot. And it's not based on any information, but instead this instant reaction. So if you go to a site where everyone is talking about quadrupling their income, exploding their profits, there's a pretty good chance that you will not like those photos. Even without reading the words, you start to move away from that kind of crowd. Which is why you need to have pictures of your clients. It's impossible to put every single photo of every single client there. But we've been running courses since about 2004, and we have hundreds of photos for many courses. So what we do is we pick a few, and we pick the words, and we pick the pictures, and we combine to create an interesting attraction. Or, if you want to put it, a self-eject situation. Just to be clear, it's not like we're specifically tailoring the words. These are clients' testimonials, but you're putting them together in a way that future clients have a look at it and they see what's expected of them, and that creates a barrier. However, you might not have testimonials. All companies, big or small, have this very awkward situation at some point in time. Let's say you're a big company or a medium-sized company, but now you create a new course and you have no testimonials. That's perfectly all right. Bear in mind, however, that we've not necessarily put in testimonials from that course, and the same thing can apply for you as well. You don't have to have testimonials that apply to that specific course. You can have testimonials that apply to you or apply to your behavior or something like that. If you have 0 testimonials, you're brand new, well, find testimonials that speak about your personality. And you might have fewer people in your first course, but yes, you'll get the testimonials from that first course, and that in turn will ensure that future clients also start to give you testimonials. And that tone and whatever they bring to those testimonials, that's how you consistently get better clients. And strangely, well, not strangely, that's how you get better results. We might look at testimonials and say, hey, that's a very small part of the marketing strategy. But we have to remember this, that people look for similarities, which is why you need to get those testimonials as quickly as you possibly can. I tend to get the testimonials as part of the course itself. So if we have a 10-week course, then the 11th week is where the clients give the testimonials. And this is part of an assignment. And this ensures that we have a regular stream of high-quality clients. And this leads to high-quality results that lead to a great deal of satisfaction on your part as a teacher. So these are the first 2 elements. The first one was the barriers. We have to have some kind of barriers in place. But the testimonials themselves act like a barrier. And that is how you get your groups better, more results focused before you even start your course. But there's one more thing. The course is about to begin. Now we have all of these people who have never seen your forum, never seen your group, never been part of your system, and they're all going to enter at the same time. You have to change the size of the group. You have to regulate the size of the group. Let's find out how that's done. No matter how many people are invited to a party, something curious always unfolds. Even if that event has hundreds of people, you'll notice that people tend to bunch up in groups. Now, if you were to go around and then you were to count the number of people in every group, you'd notice that they range between 7 or 10. it follows logically that when we're setting up online courses, we too should have groups between 7 or 10. And you'd think that at Psychotactics, that's what we'd have done from the very start, but that wasn't the case at all. We had small numbers in our courses, like 35 people, but we didn't have small groups. So clients had to look at 35 different assignments every day, and that was mind-blowing for them. It was just too much. They had to do their own assignment. They had to look at other people's assignments because you learn from others, and it became too much. We eventually got to a group size of 6 to 7. So we were able to take those 35 participants and split them into 5 smaller components. But why would you choose 6 or 7 people in a group? If you have just 3 or 4 people in the group and a couple of them don't show up for a few days, then the group feels desolate, it feels abandoned. However, once the group is around 6 to 7, and let's say for some reason 1 or 2 don't show up for a few days, you still have a very vibrant group of 5. And over the years, we've tried several group sizes, and finally, we settled on 6 to 7. It was small enough for the people to get to know each other intimately, and yet big enough to allow the group to any problematic situation that might occur. And there's one thing that makes a group very resilient. The answer lies in how you choose your group. Now, we know a lot of our clients very well, and Renuka will take great pains to pair up the groups by introverts and extroverts, existing versus new client, male or female. The reasons for these permutations are simple. The primary role of the trainer isn't to teach or to give information. Their first purpose, and probably the only purpose to begin with and right through, is to create a safe zone, a safe space for those clients. If you put one man in a group full of women, he might be quite comfortable. However, that is a chance that you're better off not taking. And the same applies to introvert versus extrovert and new and existing clients. The more there's a pre-designed mix, the higher the chances that the clients will settle down. And they'll settle down quickly. It's only when that intimidation factor is reduced to a shallow level that the real learning begins. Instead, a lot of training has random group placements, if there's any placement done at all. And one of the reasons why we have such small numbers and why you should have small numbers is because when you go into this group where there are hundreds of people, they're all jostling for space. They're all jostling for attention. And everyone gets almost nothing. But it's not enough to just reduce the group size. Your primary role is to create that lack of intimidation. So you're creating the safe space. There is a situation. You might not know much about your clients. How are you supposed to know who's an introvert, who's an extrovert? What if you don't have any existing clients at all? If you don't have information of this nature, then you do the best you can. But you still reduce the group size to 6 or 7, and that's a good start. When starting any venture, you might not have enough information. You might not even have enough of a balance between men and women, existing clients versus new clients. In such a case, the least you can do is to make sure that the group size is manageable for the participants. And what if you don't have 6 or 7 members to a group? Your group might be smaller than 7. In such a case, if you've just got 5, then 5 is it. If there are only 3, then that's fine too. Clients join a course to get the attention of the teacher. They don't care that there are fewer, because in their brain it is, oh wait, we're getting additional attention from the teacher. However, as soon as you possibly can, you should do your utmost to increase the numbers of the group, and not just from the point of revenue. That group of 6 to 7, that represents a flow of ideas. It has feedback, it has friendship, it has camaraderie. And a smaller group finds it very hard to sustain that energy. There's a far greater chance of dropout. So yes, your group has started out smaller than you expected, but it's both in your interest as well as the client's interest to make sure that that group grows to at least 6 to 7 people. And with that little note, we come to the end of this podcast. Let's just summarize what we've done so far. The first thing that we looked at were barriers. You don't have to go crazy with barriers. You don't have to put 17 barriers in place. It could be a really small barrier. Maybe they have to read a chapter. Maybe they have to fill in a form. Maybe they have to be on a phone interview. Something that eliminates the people that are not willing to put in the time. And the reason for this is all of this instruction, you establishing yourself as a teacher, all of this has to happen before the course begins. If they follow instructions before the course, then they're more likely to do it during the course as well. But even before you get to those barriers, you have a second system in place, and that is your testimonials. The photographs, the tone of the testimonials, where people come from, what they're doing, all of that tells me as a client, it gives me a message. It says, this is the kind of person that I'm going to be meeting in there. This is the kind of teacher. This is the testimonial. This is the voice of the testimonial saying, oh, this is really tough, and you be prepared for a really tough course, and I'm going to accept it as a client. And so it's giving you all of this information as a client, and you want to send out this information on a consistent basis, because this creates a kind of barrier in itself. It creates this pre-selection in itself. And all of this is just before the course begins. But once the course begins, you have to do a little bit of homework. If you can, put existing clients with new clients. If you can, put male with female. Mix it up a bit. Create that intimidation factor. No, you don't want to create an intimidation factor. You want to create the opposite of an intimidation factor. You want to create a safe zone. And so when you mix them up that way, you start to create a bit of a safe zone. The smaller group of 6 to 7 people, that creates a safe zone. Safe zones are what people need to learn something. This is long before you give them any content. All your videos and audio and text and instruction and all that stuff, that's all very cool, but that's not the critical reason why people learn. People learn when they're safe, when they feel like the teacher has put in this effort to pre-qualify them, and then to qualify them even as they are starting their course. These 3 things that we've gone through, these are just some of the reasons why you'll find that some of the courses are better than others. You have to go through this level of due diligence. It's not that hard. Get started, do what you can, and then make sure that you start to get better clients. A coach, a trainer, they're only as good as their clients. And you know something? The secret of good coaches is that they do this. They get the best, the cream of the crop. When you look at your cricket teams or your football teams or your hockey teams, whether you look at CEOs or HR, what they're trying to do is they're trying to get people who are most suited to that position. They're not just trying to get everyone who signs up for stuff. And that's how you start to get results. You start to get results by picking great clients in the first place. And then they get great results. And of course, then it's no problem selling a course. And it's no problem getting them to do stuff. So that brings us to the end of this podcast. Let's find out what's happening in Psychotactics land. That's one thing for me to tell you how to run a course. It's quite another thing to experience a Psychotactics course. If you've already experienced, you know that everything I've just said out there, that's all true. That's all the reason why you have so much fun, and precisely why we end up with the result. It's not just more information, but a result. The first result that you could get if you wanted to be a cartoonist, that's the Da Vinci course. That's psychotactics.com/DAVINCI. The second one, if you don't want to do cartoons and you want to stick to marketing, well, that's the headline course. You know how frustrating it can be to write headlines and you want to test everything, but what if you could write headlines pretty much like you write an email? Well, it's possible, and that's what the headline course is all about. It's a short course. It's no longer than 8 weeks, and it's a lot of fun. 22nd of June, the bookings open for the cartooning course. 29th of June, the bookings open for the headline course. You'll have more details of the headline course. You can go on the Psychotactics site, look up the courses, and you'll find more details. And you know why you're listening to this podcast, don't you? Most of the other podcasts, marketing podcasts, that make you feel nervous, jittery, well, this calms you down. Go and tell your friends about it, and let's see you in 5000 BC, the place where introverts meet, they discuss, and slow things down and go progressively. See you in 5000 BC. Bye for now. Still listening? The earliest courses that we had were not online, they were offline. And there's a reason for that. It's not like online courses didn't exist back then, but it's relatively easier to meet with people in a networking group or in other groups, and then for them to trust you at a relatively faster pace than you can ever achieve online. And what we had was 6 to 8 people that would meet regularly. Maybe it was 10 people, 12 people, I can't remember exactly. But we would meet every month, and they would pay a fixed fee of $75. And that was our first kind of course. It didn't have any notes. It was just a presentation. They made their own notes and they went home and they came back the next month. So don't always try to work out this perfect situation. I know that this podcast was about, oh, this is how you build the course, this is how you do stuff. But at the end of the day, you want to start small and then quickly progress from there. When you make that progress, email me. I'm at Sean@psychotactics.com, and we'll say bye for now. See you in 5000 BC.